Okay, so I want to share with you my daughter. My daughter just got home from the hospital yesterday. She was there for 2 days. She had some ulcers on her tongue and on her throat. Very, very painful. High fever, severe dehydration. She wasn't talking. She wasn't eating. So I got to spend 2 days with her in the hospital. And when you're in a hospital, there's a lot of waiting around. Like you wait, you wait, you wait. But we were in the actual hospital. Hospital was there a long time while she was sleeping. And I want to share with you some downloads that I received. So this was a children's hospital, like specific. It's the only children's hospital. Excuse me, I'm gonna take some water here. It's the only children's hospital that is in the state of Arizona. So it's huge. So as I was walking around to go get coffee or drink or whatever, I'd peer into the rooms and I noticed that every single room was filled. And I also noticed that there were a lot of babies. So I asked the nurse, I said, is this normal? Like this hospital is so busy. And then her answer back to me was like, what is normal anymore? And I was like, touche, good point. And then she said, no, not really. Since the pandemic, and this has nothing to do with kids having COVID at all, because that wasn't brought up. It wasn't about that. In fact, the hospital barely talked about COVID. So she said, since the pandemic, we have been very, very busy, and it's not about COVID. So I thought that was really interesting. So as I was sitting there and I had time to meditate and tune in, I want to share with you some of the downloads I'm getting because we're in a really, really unprecedented time in history, and it is incredibly important for the human race, like where we are in our evolution. So, hospitals, in my experience, are a mixed bag. So, what I mean by that is, and I saw it for myself, is like there's a lot of angels and a lot of support, and God is very present in hospitals. And there's another layer to hospitals where there's entities and darkness and shadow and feeder beings that are feeding off the energy of death and suffering and things like that. And then there's the angels, and whew, it was interesting because if I was to look at the hospital like the world, and this is the way I've seen it, and what my guides have shown me is that we are actually in a fucking spiritual war right now. Excuse my language. It's real, like cosmic spiritual war. And where in the past it may have been like the dark was winning a little bit. I mean, the light's always been present, but the dark was like, oh, had an edge. Now it's like this: the light has an edge. The light is winning, and there's so much galactic support. There's so much cosmic support. There's so much angel support. There's multidimensional beings. These are benevolent beings that are here to support us, right? And this is why the dark is freaking out so bad. All of the control, all the mandates, all of the food shortages, all of these things that are happening right now. Is because the dark is losing, and they're losing their grip, and they're pulling out all of the stops. And I've been saying this for a year now. I don't think it's going to get easier. Like it's not. I mean, it's going to get different, but I don't know if it's going to get easier because they're just pulling out all the stops because the dark is starting to lose. The evil on this planet, the time is up. Like we don't need murder, we don't need drug addiction, we don't need rape. Like we don't need these things anymore for our evolution. We never did. We never did. But they've been here, right? They've been here, and we've been navigating these things for a very long time, but their time is up. It's like it's your clock is over, but they're not going to go away without a fight. So what I saw in the hospital was like the light was winning. So much light, so many angels, so much, but then there's the other piece. Now, let's circle back to why is the hospital so full, particularly with children. Now, whenever like if you listen to any sort of person who's doing a video, right, like you did, or teaching online, please, please, please see if what they're saying resonates with you, even from me. Like, Just because I'm saying doesn't mean it's true. This is coming from my lens, my teachings, my guides, my experience. If it lands with you and resonates with you, awesome. But really check in with yourself, right? Be empowered. So, with that being said, this is from my lens, my guidance. Um, Going back, this is what I got about the kids in the hospital was there's a lot to navigate right now, a ton. So the children that are choosing to come onto the planet right now are incredible. But they're having to navigate things that you, me, and the generations before us did not have to navigate. Pandemics, spiritual war, just so technology is a whole thing, right? That they're having to navigate. And my sense is that this is what the guides were showing me, that some are coming in and being like, it's too much. It's too much. And I don't have the support to guide me through this. Because this, like, how do you teach people consciousness? How do you teach people, I mean, you can, but it's too much for some of the parents too, right? Like, people are really struggling right now, some people. Some people are thriving too. It's wild. It's a split. Some people are thriving, and some people are really struggling. So the kids coming in, that's what I was getting, was like, some are just like, you know what? I'm out. It's too much. It's too much. And we're up against a lot more stuff in our environment right now. We're up against 5G. We're up against all of these things in our environment right now. I mean, they are vaccinated kids. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, and I'm not even doing that about this video. But I am questioning everything. Like, what are they putting in our kids' bodies? More and more kids are just not doing that well. Like, they're not thriving as like they used to. So what are we doing? What are we putting in their bodies? What is we putting in the environment? The fluoride in the water, all of it, like all of it. So they're coming into a lot. So my takeaway with the hospital is like, the time for like sitting back and being passive it's just not working. This is why I do these videos. This is why I do, show up for people, is because it's not working. Some of it's working, but you doing your work. And if you're starting to tune me out right now, like, I kind of just felt it, like people are like, oh God, she's talking about doing her work. Please pay attention. Because it is up to us, it is up to the spiritual warriors of the world to bring in this consciousness. And the way that you bring in the consciousness is by doing your inner work, by learning, by being disciplined, by being dedicated. We don't have the luxury of like checking out and not doing your inner work or your shadow work or being connected to God, your spiritual work. And I'm not talking about woo-woo, like fluffy work. I'm talking about deep work, moving through your stuff so that we can usher in and clear out the way for the children that are coming through. This is about the human race. And if you're asking the question, like, how is my inner work going to help anybody? It beyond does. It has a ripple effect. It has a ripple effect. And the more of us that are conscious, the more of us that are doing our work and working with guides and working with God, we will win. The dark cannot be up against it. It'll eventually get bored and go away. But a lot of people are still engaging in the lower vibrational things, right? And this is not about being perfect. This is about being mindful. This is about being intentional. So being in the hospital for 2 days, I saw a microcosm of what is happening on the planet. In the United States right now, there are pockets, right? Like, some cities are more intense than others, but there's a lot going on globally and internationally that they don't even let us know about. The media handpicks what we know. Handpicks. That's it. Some things in China, we don't even know. Intense stuff. This affects all of us. But by you being mindful, and we have the luxury of doing the work that we can do right now, please do not ignore your inner work. Please do not ignore your growth. If you can't do it for yourself right now, do it for the kids. And I am very serious. It's like fake it till you make it. At least do it for them, and then you'll eventually want to do it for yourself. It's big stuff. It's big stuff. It's spiritual warrior stuff. It is the time of the warrior. Boots on the ground. And I'm not talking fight warrior, I'm talking spiritual warrior. Ushering in the new earth. And if we have a majority of people checked out and not wanting to do that, the dark's going to win. But right now, we have an opportunity to truly release this from the planet. So I'm calling on you. The guides are calling on you. And the children are calling on you. So many babies in that hospital. So many babies. And here's another thing. I never saw their parents. Like babies that were in the room alone for hours. Hours without a human in there except a nurse. Yeah. Intense. And maybe the parents had a ton of kids at home and they just couldn't be there or had to go to work to pay for the child, to pay for the hospital. It's like, oh, wow. So we are fighting, standing for the future of humanity because humans are amazing. We are amazing. We really are. Super cool. All right. My name is Beth Osmer, and thank you for listening, and I will see you on the next video.